This lesson will help you make a determination as to whether or not a vertical stretch or compression has occurred on the graph of your parabola. We can tell this by looking at the a value once your parabola is written in standard form. By looking at this a value, it will give us information as to whether or not this graph has been stretched or compressed. If the graph has been stretched, then the graph will appear skinnier than normal. If the graph has been compressed, it will appear wider than normal. So in the case where the a value, when we take the absolute value of it, is exactly 1, what we're typically going to see is just a regular width parabola. However, if we take that a value, take the absolute value of it, and that number is less than 1, and because we're taking the absolute value, that means the value would be between 0 and 1, what we're going to find is a much wider parabola. And that's because a vertical compression has taken place and compressed this graph, which gives the illusion that it is wider. In the case where we take the a value, take the absolute value of it, and the number that we're left with is greater than 1, then what we find is that the parabola has been vertically stretched. And what we'll have is a graph that appears much skinnier because all of the heights have been maybe doubled or tripled or something like that. The absolute value needs to be taken because we don't care whether the a value is positive or negative when considering a vertical stretch or compression. The positive or negative a value tells us whether the graph is a U-shaped or a reflected upside down U. We ignore that by taking the absolute value and then only looking at the number. Is that number less than 1? If so, it's wider. Is that number equal to 1, in which case no stretch or compression has occurred? Or is that number bigger than 1? In that case, a vertical stretch has occurred and the graph will appear skinnier. So again, put your function in standard form and look at that a value. Then take the absolute value of a and ask yourself, is the absolute value less than 1, equal to 1, or greater than 1? Because each of those three cases has a different scenario.